Hola chicos, gonna do a little bit of homework help for the subordinate 1 and 2, and hopefully this will help you. All right, so here, no entiendo por qué el comportarse así. I don't understand why he, comportarse means to behave, así means so or like this, right? So saying, I don't understand why he behaves this way. All right, so two things. First, is this indicative or subjunctive? I'm trying to think, maybe you should do the other part first. This one is not the best example. That's okay. All right, so entender, well, first we have to figure out, is it a noun clause, an adjective clause, or an adverb clause? Okay, so here's our subordinate, all this, and it is doing something with the verb entender, right? So remember that sometimes the noun and the adverb clauses can be difficult to determine because they both sort of have to do with the verb, right? Remember, the noun clause doesn't describe the verb, it just functions as a subject or the direct object of the verb. So I don't understand. What don't I understand? Why he's behaving this way. So this is functioning as a direct object of entender, which means it's a noun clause. So I'm going to put in nominal. And then entender, so pull up that list of verbs from the handout that I gave you a while ago that says, like, if it's this kind, these are some of the verbs that use with this kind of noun clause, whatever. Entender means to understand. So that's a verb of knowledge. Verbs of knowledge require the use of the indicative. So we're going to just put, and then we look here and say, okay, this is present tense. So this is also present tense. You want to put se comporta. That's it. All right. So, mi abuela me dijo que ser muy difícil la vida cuando ella ser joven. All right, so we have two different sentences here. Mi abuela me dijo que, my grandma told me that life was very difficult when she was young. All right, so this is our first one. Is it functioning as a noun clause, an adjective clause, or an adverb clause? All right. So remember, if it's functioning as a noun clause, then it's either functioning as the direct object or the subject of a verb. If it's an adjective clause, it's functioning as an adjective. It's describing a noun. And if it's functioning as an adverb clause, then it's describing something about how the verb happens. All right. So it's obviously, usually adjective clauses are going to be right after a noun. This is after a verb, so it's probably not an adjective clause. We can get rid of that one. Here, me dijo que, she told me that, blah, blah, blah. So who or what did she tell me? That life was very difficult. It's functioning as the direct object. Now, this could also be, you could have something that's modifying the verb. So like if you said how she told me, or when she told me, or where she told me, that kind of thing, that modifies the verb, but what she told me is always going to be the direct object. So if it's told me something, or I understand that, or we knew that, if it's answering the question what, that's always going to be a nominal. So we're going to say this is a nominal. All right, now she told me, past tense. So this is probably going to be past tense, and this is going to be past tense because our main verb here is past tense. So life was difficult. Now you have two decisions to make here, three decisions, right? It's going to be past tense. Is it going to be preterite or imperfect? And then is it going to be indicative or subjunctive? Now, let's do indicative subjunctive first, because I think, indicative subjunctive first. So she told me that. If she's telling me something, is it real or hypothetical? Hopefully you're getting that it's real, okay? So it's going to be indicative, and then is it preterite or imperfect, because it's past tense. So life was difficult. Now, remember that preterite has a time limit around it. Does it give us a time limit? No, it doesn't say when, just was when she was young, but it doesn't have like a defined, like for 2 years or for 5 years or whatever. And so this is going to be imperfect because it doesn't have a cutoff of when life was difficult. So we're going to say era. And then, when was life difficult? Cuando ella ser joven. All right. Now, this is actually modifying this one, right? When was life difficult? When she was young. So this, when she was young, is modifying this was. Okay, was difficult when she was young. So this is functioning as an adverb because it's telling us something about the verb, when it happened. And then we have to decide is it indicative or subjunctive. So, era muy difícil la vida cuando ella era joven. Usually when it's talking about when, if it's past tense, it's almost always going to be indicative. Just because if you're describing something in the past, you're saying when this happened, it actually happened. It's over and done. So it's usually going to be indicative, and that's the case here. And then we're going to decide preterite imperfect. When she was young, she was young. Is there time limits around it? No. These are both going to be era. All right, let's look at a different type here. No había nadie que hablar inglés. All right, so here is our clause here. So there was no one that to speak English. So here for past tense, so this is probably going to be past tense here. Now, que hablar inglés is modifying no one. Does no one exist or do they not exist? They do not exist. So this is functioning as an adjective clause, adjetival, because it's modifying a noun, no one. And no one, it means it doesn't exist. So we're going to use a subjunctive. But this is past, so we're going to use past subjunctive. And you're going to get hablara. No había nadie que hablara inglés. All right. Let me see if I can find one with just an adverb. Okay. Here we go. Se robó el disco compacto sin que yo lo saber. Okay, so the CD, this is old school, guys, the CD. The CD was robbed, sin que is without me knowing it, okay? And so this is describing how, sin que yo lo saber, how was the disc robbed? Without me knowing it. So it's telling us something about the verb, it's telling us how the action was done. So that means it's adverbial. Now, if I'm saying sin que without me knowing about it, is that if I didn't know about it, right, then it's a hypothetical, sort of. But if I didn't know, then it has to be subjunctive, and it's past, so it's going to be sin que yo lo supiera. Okay. So again, I know this is hard, and hopefully this will help. But focus. If you can't get nominal, adjetival, adverbial, not so worried about that. But focus on the indicative, subjunctive. Look at the main verb. Is it past or present? And then decide. And again, you're not going to be able to do anything if you don't understand what the sentences mean. So, so take the sentence with the unconjugated verb, put it in Google Translate if you need to. Make sure you know what it means, and then I think you'll be able to figure out like what the verb form should be. Just make sure if the verb is past, main verb's past tense, then your subordinate verb is almost always going to be past tense. If your main verb's present tense, like here, it's almost always going to be present tense. So hopefully that helps.